Kedves közönségünk, hogy érzik magukat?
How are you doing, CPAC Hungary? Can't hear you.
Ennyi? Biztos, hogy tudnak többet is. Mutassák meg nekünk, hogy érzik magukat. Hello, CPAC Hungary! Na. Úgy hallom, hogy ez nekem szól, ne, csak viccelek. Na de menjünk is tovább, mert egy nagyon izgalmas beszélgetés fog következni. Azt láthattuk, hogy 2020-ban a demokraták mindent bevetettek, hogy megnyerjék a választásokat. Tudom, hogy morbid lesz, amit most mondok, de hát ez történt, míg a korábban elhunyt amerikaiak is szavaztak Joe Bidenre. Felmerül bennem a kérdés, hogy ezt még egyszer meg fogják húzni?
Hát szerintem ebben teljesen igazad van, biztos vagyok benne, hogy ezúttal is minden eszközt be fognak majd vetni. A kérdés csak az, hogy mit lehet ezzel kezdeni.
Hát bízom benne, hogy a következő beszélgetésben erre választ fogunk kapni, úgyhogy fogadják a színpadon nagy szeretettel Mark Iványot, a Republicans for National Renewal ügyvezető igazgatóját, houstoni ügyvédet, Diego Morales-t, guatemalai amerikai politikust, Indiana államminiszterét, illetve Koskovics Zoltánt, az Alapjogokért Központ geopolitikai elemzőjét.
Hello, CPAC!
Hello, CPAC! Sziasztok!
I hope you're having a great time.
Remélem, hogy mindenki jól érzi magát.
Let's get to it. This is an election super year, obviously. 4 billion people are voting across the world, but this is CPAC, and the United States is the leading power of the West, so the most important election is happening over there in your fantastic, great country. Let's talk about the major election issues that are the most important things that the voters are concerned about. Economy is always top of the list, but I've read that in this year, one of the major issues is mass illegal immigration, the crisis on the southern border, as the American news networks call it. What do you think about this?
Well, first of all, Jonah Pod Hungary. So good to be back in the most beautiful city in all Europe, Budapest. It's an honor to be here. To the organizers of CPAC, thank you. So good to be back here among other conservatives. My name is Diego Morales, the Indiana Secretary of State. And yes, you talked about something about illegal immigration. Let me share with you my story. I immigrated to America legally because I believe in legal immigration. If you want to immigrate to America or any other country, you have to do it the right way, the legal way, respecting the rule of law. And that is exactly what I did. I became a naturalized citizen in America. I served in the United States Army. I'm a veteran, and now I am honored to be the Secretary of State in order to give back to America. So yes, we must protect our borders. We must, I believe, we must build a wall. And I truly believe if anybody wants to come to America or any other country, they have to do it the right way.
Texan, you have an opinion on that?
Yes, it's a great question, Zoltán. First of all, it's a great honor to be back here. I've been to pretty much every CPAC Hungary, and it just gets better and better every year. And the hospitality of the Hungarian people is second to none. So thank you all for having us. Really appreciate it. Center for Fundamental Rights has done a great job with CPAC. And yes, I'm from Texas, and our border has been swarmed like never before. I mean, unprecedented amount of illegal aliens over there. And the federal government, it's their job to protect the border. They have failed to do that, and so Governor Abbott in Texas sent the National Guard to the border to protect it. And they got sued by the federal government for doing the federal government's job. So it makes no sense to normal people. And I think that's also part of why President Biden is so low in the polls. People are just sick and tired of getting overrun by illegal aliens, and the rule of law is just disrespected completely. And we also always hear this trite saying, which is, well, the illegals are better Americans than many other Americans. Well, no, they're not. If they were better Americans, perhaps they would respect and follow the rule of law.
Enter the country breaking the law, then what are people expecting your behavior will be inside the country? Your first act was breaking the law. Hungary has done a lot in the last almost a decade to protect our borders. Has this been at all been noticed in the United States? Do you think that Hungary can serve as an example for how to protect borders?
Yes, I think Hungary is extremely inspirational. So we've heard the news, in the United States about so-called refugees, whether they're economic or wartime. Most of them are economic, and they're just flooding through Europe, right? But Hungary has been one of the few countries that has said, not for us. We want to remain Christian. We want to preserve our culture, our identity, and so we are going to close off our borders. And if you want to stay here, you have to earn it. And so that's very inspirational of conservatives in the United States, who aren't necessarily against immigration. We just want to have a process. We want to vet people. We want people who want to go to the States to better their lives and to better the country, not to take advantage of it.
All right, let's move on to another very important subject that everybody is basically talking about. This is going to be, or at least right now, it looks like a close election in November. And the last time around, there were some very serious issues raised about election integrity. And a lot of people on the conservative side had serious, well-founded suspicions about the process of the counting of the votes. And the trust of the electorate towards the election result is basically the heart and soul of democracy. A democratic republic cannot go on functioning when half the people don't trust elections. I know that you, Mr. Morales, have a lot to do in Indiana as the Secretary of State there about election integrity. What are you doing to ensure that the people of Indiana can be absolutely certain that A, they will know the result of their state as soon as possible after election date, and that they can trust that result?
Great question. As the Indiana Secretary of State, I am the Chief Election Officer, and my #1 job is to protect the integrity of our elections, to have free, fair, safe, and secure elections. When I took office on January 1st of 2023, here is what I have done. And I believe Indiana, the great state of Indiana, is going to be a model when it comes to elections for all United States and perhaps the world. Here is why. We passed House Bill 1334, which is expansion of photo ID for absentee. We passed House Bill 1264. What does that mean? For the first time, we are going to clean the voter rolls, the voter file list, because we only want to see eligible Americans to be registered in our rolls. #2, we are going to request proof of citizenship. As far as I know, only U.S. citizens should be able to vote in our elections in America. And #3, proof of residency. And here is a good one. #4, we are going to eliminate once and for all private money into our elections. No more private money into Indiana elections. We've been doing this. I've been crisscrossing all 92 counties in a record time. In 3 months, I visited, working with our county clerks, with our partners. So I can tell you, Indiana is ready, and we are going to be the first state this November to show at 601 that Donald Trump will be our next president of the United States of America.
There you go. Let's hope that's how it turns out. And you will have a lot of work, Mark, your organization's Republicans for National Renewal, to ensure that that is the final result by turning out the votes for voters for Donald Trump. How is your organization handling this huge task? What are you doing to bring out the vote?
Well, that's a good question. So the grassroots, the average American, the morale is a little low. They don't want to go to the polls, cast their vote, only to say, well, it's not going to be counted, it's going to be discarded, or the Democrats are going to bring in a big box at 3 in the morning and dump off thousands of ballots that override your vote. And so you could have the best candidate in the world, and I've been telling people this, the best candidate, if you can picture it. They go, they knock on doors, they give great speeches, they have great crowds. But if you don't have election integrity, you will still lose. We saw Joe Biden. He was hanging out in his basement. How did he win? He won, allegedly, but he didn't go campaigning because he had his folks out there gathering the ballots, ballot harvesting, and then casting them. And so we've been working with Republicans for National Renewal and some of the grassroots operations around the country, particularly Scott Pressler, who's been doing a great job with the grassroots, and basically telling people, if you're in a state where ballot harvesting is legal, then you should be ballot harvesting. You have to do it. If you don't, you're going to lose. And so go to churches, go to large communities that tend to be conservative, and tell them, hey, you all support our policies. Let us get your ballots and turn them in. Although normally you'd be against that, it's legal in your country or in your state. And if you don't do it, you're going to get Joe Biden, you're going to get any kind of leftist, communist, etc. So there's a big incentive to use the tools we have, and that's how we're combating it. Hopefully we can just get rid of mail-in ballot in the first place, or ballot harvesting, but in the states that we can't, we have to operate within the system.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to use the tools that are available to you. You have to play by the rules that are set out, and then you have to ensure that those rules at least are enforced. Incidentally, another big issue in all American elections is the photo ID question. Now, it is crazy to Hungarians because we cannot imagine voting without proving your identity. But there are still a number of American states where you don't actually have to produce a photo ID. Is that correct?
Well, you know, first of all, Indiana became the first state in the union to push IDs when you go to vote. In fact, this case, it went to the Supreme Court, and by the way, we won. So Indiana was the first state to make sure asking ID. Under my administration now, I moved this for absentee because, you know, if you request an absentee ballot, you have to have a good excuse, whether you're ill, you're disabled, you're serving in the military. You know, I serve in the Indiana National Guard, so sometimes you get, you go and serve. It's okay, but we need to make sure that you can do it transparently, and that is why we passed House Bill 1334, which is expansion of photo ID for absentee. But make no mistake, Indiana believes in voter ID identification.
Good. Now, I think all three of us here know that, really, we do know that it's going to be Donald Trump who ends up winning the election. He's going to be the 47th president of the United States. But what I am not quite certain of is if Biden is running. Do you think, well, I know he's not capable of actually running, he can barely walk, but do you think that he really considers himself a candidate in this election, or are the Democrats somehow fooling us?
Well, look, we all know President Trump has won 2 times now, and he'll win a 3rd time in November. It's a matter of getting elected. And if the Democrats are smart, which I don't give them a lot of credit for, if they're smart, they wouldn't run Joe Biden. They'd probably put someone like Gavin Newsom in, which is what I expect them to do last minute, because Joe Biden, I mean, he's basically a walking corpse. We all know that there's a shadow government behind him, pulling the strings and making decisions. We saw the Easter Bunny lead him off stage with journalists. He can't walk off the stairs, so I think you're right. There's no way he's going to last into another term. It's just a matter of fact of who they're going to choose. I mean, it could be Kamala Harris, which would be great for us, because the only person less popular than Hillary Clinton is Kamala Harris. So whatever they decide to do, it's good for us. But if they were smart, they'd probably go for someone like Gavin Newsom. I don't think he's actually a real candidate. He doesn't even know where he is, and they can only juice him up so much, get him so alert for a short period of time, and I think he's rapidly declining. You know, he's always a little sleepy, a little out of it, and so we'll see what happens, but I highly doubt they'll actually run him when time comes.
You know, for me, real quick, I like to move forward, and I became one of the first, if not the first Secretary of State to endorse Donald Trump last year when everybody were running to be the nominee. Now he is our nominee, and I am going to do everything I can to send Donald Trump back in the White House.
I think the entire world needs it. Donald Trump is the only person who can deliver peace, because he's the only person who can produce the political will, the political strength to actually turn American foreign policy around towards peace through strength. And that is what the world needs from the United States today. We in Hungary will do everything to help you, gentlemen. My best wishes to you for the campaign. It's going to be hard work. I'm sure that you're going to succeed, and we are going to celebrate Donald Trump's next presidency come November. And thank you all for coming. Come for every CPAC.
Thank you, Zoltán. God bless Hungary.
Thank you all. Come and visit the great state of Indiana. God bless.